Hello, I'm Gary Lyon and welcome to Access All Areas, a weekend of upsets as the bottom three teams all had a win. But off the top, as I welcome Matthew Lloyd and Damien Barrett, a cracking match yesterday with the Demons getting up in a thriller at the MCG in front of over 70,000, Lordo.
They looked gone late in that second quarter.
Yeah.
I thought they were in big trouble. Didn't see how they could possibly score, but to see them finish strongly. Jack Watts kicking the winning goal late in the game. He made his debut in that game 9 years ago, and to see him do this on the big stage, he hurt his hip early in the game. I thought, will he come back? He did. This spoil from Hibberd, Gaz.
Just as important, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah.
To go, he had his radar on and was kicking beautifully. But there's Watts through the middle of the ground. He ran past Adams and he ran past Jeremy Howe. And you'll just see here the gap that he put on those players. And then to have the composure.
I like the way he looked up before he even retrieved the ball, goes, and then just thought, I'm going to have to do this. And there are options inside, but they were probably more risky than actually taking the kick he took.
Is there a better finisher in the game than Jack Watts?
I think if I had to pick someone to kick for my my job, I'd have Jack Watts.
So would I, reckon.
Yeah, he's a super player. It was all around the clearances, Damo. I mean, you look at stats and everything else, but without even looking at it, you knew that Grundy was giving their midfield group this armchair ride. Tom McDonald went into the middle of the ground, and whilst he didn't get his hands on foot, he was a bit more competitive, and at ground level was able to get the job done.
I think it was really significant, McDonald goes. I know he's had probably an ordinary season by the way he would have expected it to unfold, and yet I reckon this game it can be put down to his involvement in that second half to a point. And they've got the situation now, Melbourne, as we see these clearances that they clearly got on top of in the second half. The luxury now of Gawn potentially coming back as early as this next match.
Yeah, and hopefully Hogan at some stage for them. Lordo, they've got a tough run. They've got the Bulldogs, West Coast and Sydney, I think, in the next three. Finals or not? Too early?
I think it's too early, but their best is good enough, no doubt about that. They just need to find consistency. But I thought Ola and Viney took a huge step. They turned that game in the midfield after half-time.
And Petrarca too, didn't he? Even when it was getting away from them in the second quarter, he just arrested the slump, didn't he? And got himself involved in the play and then kicked crucial goals. This is the one I'm referring to, and they're 27 down. And just the way he can get this and then flick it across there with a beautiful kick there to Gullett. And then just got his hands on it regularly, took some really big clunks. This was arguably more crucial and probably the thing that allowed them to go into half-time. I know Collingwood got one more goal back after that moment, but it just allowed them to go back settled, didn't it? Yeah,
and this is Lordo, they were the key moments that Lordo identified as well. So I remember speaking to Simon Goodwin on air earlier in the year, asked about him, and he said, we want him to be our Dustin Martin, and that's where the comparison started, and you can see it. I mean, body
is he
power.
Tracking exactly the way you'd like him to, guys? He appears to be.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, you can see that if you follow the path of Martin, who went midfield and stayed and now has gone back, I mean, he's got those attributes. I asked Buckley last night as an opposition coach, where would you least like to see him played? And he said forward. He said he'd be more comfortable with him in the midfield.
Hey, Alistair, Clarkson has, for the fourth time anyway that we know of, documented-wise, been in trouble with the AFL for abusing umpires of a sort. Goes back to 2006 when he approached umpires on a plane in a way they didn't like. 2008 he said one of the umpires was the best player for the opposition. 2012 at a junior footy game he used profanities at effectively volunteers, and then on the weekend described umpiring as disgraceful. Now, I know he was probably got caught up in the moment, Gaz and Lordo, but it's just not good enough for him at this stage and age of his extraordinary coaching career to do what he's doing. And then I think it's pretty ordinary, and it's another wet lettuce leaf from the AFL to give him a $5,000 fine. And don't hide behind the $20,000 because $15,000 has been suspended.
If you haven't caught up with it, let's have a look at it. We'll show you the incident, and then we'll let you have a listen to the umpires and the instruction that was given to Brand at the time.
Please, Hawthorn. Thank you. Hold! 50 metres. 50 metres. Told him twice. Mark's here.
Told him twice, just marginally went over. In the end, I suppose technically it's there.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing, and look, Clarko got on the front foot and apologised. He's had some practice, so he knows the best way to go about it. But
the suspended element to it, what's it mean? It's superfluous to what they had to do.
What should have happened then, Damo?
Just give him the full 20 or maybe 30. I mean, at some stage, you don't have the benefit and the luxury of being given a suspended sentence when you've got the rap sheet that he's got in this same space. So, again, I know there's bigger issues, and I know that people will say he does as much good as he does for footy, and he clearly does. He does stuff we don't even hear about, Clarko. But when it comes to umpire umpires, you cannot do it.
No, I don't know whether it'll be the last time. I hope it is. Toby Greene was a match winner, has been all year, to be honest. Kicked 2 big clutch goals there recently from outside 50. What do you make of this?
This is a give, Gaz. Over the top, you need to draw the man and give it, which he didn't. And I'd love, if Leon Cameron was sitting here now, I'd love to say, did Toby Greene crumble under the Carlton pressure? Or was he too cute in this last quarter? 4 points, Damo.
Yeah.
This pass.
Was he too cute here? I mean, he clearly thought Shaw had his hand up for the kick, but Shaw had his hand up directing traffic.
Shaw's telling him where to kick the ball. I think with a minute to go, you put that ball to 10 metres out from the top of the goal.
Well, we only a week ago lauded him for how he handles the moments and the coolness in which he's displayed regularly this season, particularly late in games to single-handedly get them wins. He's given one back there.
Yeah, no, well, we're 4 points in the last quarter when it's decided like that, but I think the story is Carlton in this instance, isn't it?
Yeah.
How unbelievably competitive they've become under Brendan Bolton, the style of footy which holds them in great stead, and you've got to improve from within. I mean, it's all good and well to bring the recruits in, and Stephen Silvani's done well with Marchbank at Plowman and those blokes, but they've got Liam Jones now who's gone back. This is a ridiculed footy player who didn't look like getting the job done forward, and I was one of his critics. And when you look at it, sometimes you don't throw him out until you've tried him everywhere. When you've got athletic ability, which he has, he can jump and he can run. So they've thrown him back in the VFL. It's worked. And
Although he benefited here by playing on Patton and the way Patton plays the game. Is this going to be something that he's going to be exposed if you get a player who doesn't anchor himself, as Patton can often do?
Yeah, I can't wait to see how he goes on Tom Lynch this week, who's probably works a bit harder than Johnny Patton does. I thought Patton was very, very easy to play against on the weekend with his leading patterns. You play on Nick Revolt, you just know you're going to be chasing him backwards, up, all these types of different leads that Liam Jones wouldn't have been exposed to as a defender. If I had a young defender like that come to me, you just got to make them feel uncomfortable. He was comfortable all day on John Patton, which Patton should be very disappointed about. Which, again, is not taking anything away. You're going to beat what's in front of you, and we'll watch with great interest against Lynch this week. Hey, the Bombers' first quarter, or in fact the game, was as good as I've seen them play since, back in your day. Yeah, it was unbelievable. I think that I'm not sure which one they need to get right first, but I just feel if Fantasia and Tip and Woody and Merritt are in the game, Watson becomes a better player. I think Heppel becomes a better player. If they're not in it, those guys can look a bit slow and pedestrian at times, but when these guys get given time and space, like Port Adelaide and West Coast gave them, they are one of the most dangerous sides in the competition.
Yeah, they are.
Can they think big?
I'm not sure they're ready to yet because they don't have the consistency, but they have a pretty good draw coming up too. Right. So I think it's there for them to play finals, which I didn't think was the case earlier.
Let me say on every platform, well done to Carl Hooker too, just so I can get that out.
Clear it up. Yeah. Look, I love Wingard and I love Gray, but there's a passage of play here that is not going to go down well when it comes to the match review situation by way of this club in this game. And Wingard here just stages for the free, and then Gray clearly realised he's not going to get the ball first and then poses for the free.
I hated it, and this is almost indicative of the mindset. Look at Robbie Gray here. Stops, turns to the umpire and appeals. There's no question that they'll go into the match review and look at that, and Robbie Gray would be embarrassed looking at that. He'd have to be embarrassed looking at that, and he's a smart enough and a good enough player to know. And then Polek's chase, well, I don't know what went on prior to this. He may have had 2 or 3 efforts up the ground. He didn't give up on it. He didn't make any ground, but I've seen worse chases than that, so I'm not as critical on that. But, Chad Wingard throwing the arms out. Well, players do that. He shouldn't probably go down that path, but Robbie Gray's the one there. I mean, he won't. I'll be confident in saying he won't do that again this year.
Didn't like the booing, for what it's worth, Lotto, of Paddy Ryder by Essendon supporters, and I say that in the context of Essendon supporters getting quite aggrieved last year or 2 years ago when Jobe Watson was booed in Perth, and that's fine, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be aggrieved at that and then do it yourself. So I reckon move on with it.
Yeah, I think they got it wrong there. Obviously, you can't stop all supporters, but I think they had their time again. The footy club was pretty embarrassed about it.
I didn't personally have a problem with it, but your point this morning is an interesting one, given what they had to say. Aaron Hall has been muted, has possibly been on the market, and he's a frustrating player for Rocketede. Now, we don't put this up just to hang him out because we think he could have gone harder, and I think Aaron would say he could have in the end.
I think it's why he frustrates Rodney.
Is this the reason why they got a bit of frustration?
The good is so good with him, but again, we all know Rocketede, and when they review that, Gaz, that will be highlighted, and he won't like it. But sometimes it's just in a player, isn't it? And sometimes we can overcook those moments, can't we?
Would it put other clubs off if they were looking at him? That just not that one incident, but.
I think that's for someone like Aaron Hall. I think I'm looking to say what Brad Hill's done for Freo through the first half of the year. He's been massive for them. I think there's clubs out there. I'd still put up with that every now and then from Aaron Hall to get him into your footy club.
I agree.
Yeah.
Umpires have been in the news as well. There was a strong reaction yesterday at the MCG. And it's the ones where it's a discretionary call, Damo, you can understand because it's hard, you've got to make a judgment. But when they're cut and dried, they've got to be getting these ones.
What's the mark?
So when the umpire boss, Peter Schwab, looks at these, whoever was officiating in both of these instances will get marked down.
It's just clear marks, aren't they? And as you say, there's enough grade in the game without it, but being not adjudicated properly when it is clear cut. Another getting matters right, Gaz. Port Adelaide Footy Club. Now, the cheer squad wasn't ready for the players as they're about to go onto the ground for this crunch game against Essendon. And
just see the banner there at the back.
You can, and you can see they're held up, and they allow the cheer squad to enter the ground at this time while they're waiting.
Enormously respectful of the cheer squad, and I think cheer squads do a great job. I'm not having a crack at them. There were issues at White. Just get out on the ground, go and run and do a lap, and then come back around and go again.
If you're Travis Boak, you're not waiting.
I've as a captain been in that situation, Damo. Just run out.
Look at the main man there too in the teal wig. He's
working hard.
Oh, he's working overtime, and look, the beat to sweat.
They put out a statement saying it wasn't their fault, but I'm with you. I think
that's not an issue. Not an issue with the cheer squad at all, but just run out and do a lap and come back and run through it.
Hey, Reece Matheson's added some colour in a very short career to this point, and it gets up opposition players' noses.
He had the shotgun, didn't he?
He did the shotgun, and you can see the score here. You can see this game's well and truly shot to bits, and he then kicks it. Nice goal, really nice goal. But
I'm not sure he
buddy
was
style,
Clay Beans or Dane Zorko either. He wasn't the dominant figure on the ground, and that is reserved for the likes of Franklin, I would have thought, Matthew. But I've been criticised for being hard on celebrators before.
Well, he stood up to Selwood too last year, so he doesn't lack any confidence.
You mentioned the Dockers there, Lordo, with Brad Hill being part of what they did get well between rounds 3 and 9 when they won 6 of 7 games, but they've now lost 3 in a row, and the season is now looking as it did after the first 2 rounds when they lost badly. Well, they're in a world of hurt.
It looks a little bit like no Sandilands, no Freo at the moment. The loss of him, they just can't get their game going. Their midfielders have really suffered as a result. But insipid, 2 performances. I think the Adelaide one was insipid. The weekend was really, really ordinary. And I think they're nearly probably playing... I couldn't tip them to beat any side as we sit here right now, the type of footy they're playing. So I think they'll slide down, and probably their ladder positions flatter them earlier in the year.
The Bulldogs form lines also have great interest to a lot of people, and I think including Luke Beveridge. Jason Janison, Norm Smith medalists against this side, made their intentions well known before the bounce, the Sydney Swans. He would have been the player circled on the whiteboard, Lordo. Everyone that goes past him has to bump into him and hit into him. And watch the goal being kicked here on Joe Hennison. They don't worry about Georgie Hewitt. They just go to Jason Janison. So it worked.
I thought he was too accepting of it, Jason Johannisen. And every younger player, he's not so young, but goes through something like this. And he's got to fight fire with fire next time. He can't cop it.
What if it's not in your nature, though, Lord? And I ask that seriously. It clearly doesn't seem to be natural for him to fight back.
Well, he's got to work harder then. Right. He's got to work hard. He's the Norm Smith medalist, so...
But I would say also, too, right here, this one here, you're going to have to, at some stage, risk $1,000. $2,000.
As teammates of his to rectify it.
I was critical of the Swans earlier in the year when they let Mills be the subject of similar stuff at the MCG, and they also went away, not because what I said, but they took it on board and said that was un-Sydney, and they won't stand for that again, Sydney. And the Western Bulldogs need to make a similar statement, I think.
Swans, can they make it? They can't they, given the logjam of teams 5 to 13?
Well, apart from that Hawthorn loss, their last 5 weeks has been exceptional, and what they did to the Western Bulldogs on the weekend was just that handball game the Dogs love, just gave them no time, no space. That was a brutal performance.
I loved it. Brutal's the word, and if they can keep that up, Damo, you might, because you've always been a strong believer. I would hate to be playing Sydney in the next few weeks. Hey, time for our lift hard hitting moments, and if you don't mind, I might kick it off this week. This is Lyndon Dunn and Mitch Hannon. Lyndon Dunn, take a bow. That is courage of the highest order, and he was taken off. He came back on as a result, but great effort.
Right, there's no Lee Matthews about Matty Suckling hitting the goal, the point post here, Gaz. The point post stays up, but it's still pretty tough. Now, the padding didn't allow him to
pick this up, Gaz, after that one. But Lemons has just gone crunch on Langford. Langford had to come off, sore ribs, winded, great hit.
Yeah, well, there you go. I think the hardest hitting moment's about to come. Come on.
Well, we didn't get the dress code changed. What is going on there? You're going for a kick of the footy after this?
Casual Tuesday today.
Oh.
No.
It's not good enough, Gary.
I know it's not. Hand high in the air. I've let you two
Dark
down.
coloured shirt.
You had 3 days over you had a long weekend.
Put me under notice.
Is it on trend?
I just forgot, to be honest, Damon. I just forgot. I was up, I left early and I left it at home, but a lot of feedback coming through. They like it. They like it. It might be a change. Thank you very much, boss. Yes, I'm wrapping it up for joining us on Access All Areas. We'll be back to our normal day next week on the Monday. I'll be in the shirt. We'll see you then. Goodbye.